Because if you look at, the past 20 years, if you look at 2001 in the aftermath of 9/11, obviously the American government, actively undermined free speech, free expression, free demonstration, all that stuff against.
To New Jersey. He is the Columbia University graduate detained by the government over his participation in pro-Palestinian demonstrations. Alice Gaynor covers courts and is here now with more details.
Cindy, the government wanted the case to play out in Louisiana. Mahmoud Khalil wanted it in New York. Simply put, the federal judge in the Southern District of New York said Khalil filed his petition in the wrong district through no fault of his own. Khalil's attorney, the judge noted, was relying on information made available by the government at the time about his location.
You're going to be under arrest, so turn around.
On March 8th, ICE took Mahmoud Khalil into custody at Columbia University campus housing and brought him to a New York field office. He was eventually transported to a detention facility in Elizabeth, New Jersey, then flown to Louisiana. A federal judge in the Southern District of New York ruled that because Khalil's attorney filed a petition on his behalf at 4:40 a.m. while detained in New Jersey, a straightforward application of the District of Confinement and Immediate Custodian rules therefore dictates that Khalil's petition should have been filed in the United States District Court for the District of New Jersey, not in this court. Khalil's petition questions the detention of the green card holder who is married to an American citizen. The judge noted in the order, many of the facts in this case are hotly contested. Khalil's petition, the judge says, depicts him as an outspoken but peaceful leader of student protests held at Columbia University against Israel's actions in Gaza since the atrocities of October 7, 2023, and that the government, by contrast, describes Khalil as leading activities aligned to Hamas, siding with terrorists, and a threat to the foreign policy and national interests of the United States. On Face the Nation Sunday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was asked repeatedly if there was any evidence of a link to terrorism.
I'm asking about the specific justification for the revocation of his visa. Was there any evidence of material support for terrorism?
Was the negotiator negotiating on behalf of people that took over a campus, that vandalized buildings? Negotiating over what?
A French researcher was detained on arrival in the U.S., his computer and phone confiscated and searched, and his text criticizing Trump cuts to scientific research were deemed by DHS agents as a hatred of Trump that could be described as terrorism. He was deported the next day. According to a diplomatic source to the AFP, the incident occurred on March 9th. The space researcher was reportedly subject to a random check upon arrival, during which his work computer and personal phones were searched. The same source also reported that messages discussing the Trump administration's treatment of scientists were found. He was reportedly accused of messages that reflect hatred toward Trump and can be described as terrorism. His professional and personal equipment was reportedly confiscated, and the researcher was sent back to Europe the next day. According to another source briefed on the case to AFP, the French researcher was accused by the American authorities of hateful and conspiratorial messages. He was reportedly informed of an FBI investigation for which charges were dropped, the source continued. I'm telling you right now, it's already happening, and I've been saying that. It's being mean to Trump is terrorism, okay? But hey, guess what, dude? There's a high bar, right, to let people into this country. If you have mean thoughts about Trump, good luck. You can't come into the country. Yeah, based. I don't want someone who doesn't like my glorious leader to be in the country. Based. You're a non-citizen. Get the out. Get the out. That's what I say. Yeah. Well. If you don't like the president, then you can't come into the country. That's right. Based. I love free speech, by the way. Except unless it's non-citizens who think mean thoughts about Trump, then I don't like free speech. Yeah. Go around and find out. How dare you? How dare you think mean thoughts about my glorious president? I'm a centrist. Apoliticals, rise up. Just common sense. Yeah. Just doing my common sense. Yeah. We have enough troublemakers in the country. That's terrorism. Why? I've decided it was. It's the case. It's the case. It's good stuff. If you don't like it, just change the law. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Should have taken a big-ass gulp out of my Dr. Pepper, extra large Dr. Pepper in between.
That's a crime in and of itself, that they're involved in being the negotiator, the spokesperson, this, that, the other. We don't want it. We don't need these people in our country.
In a letter dictated by phone from the detention facility in Louisiana, Khalil described himself as a political prisoner, that the Trump administration is targeting me as part of a broader strategy to suppress dissent.
Here's the article in French. United States, French researcher expelled by Le Monde. French researcher expelled for expressing a personal opinion on the policies pursued by the Trump administration. This is the article. Le Monde. Le Monde. Wait. Yeah. Why don't you speak American?
So it will be up to the court in New Jersey to consider Khalil's motions, like the motion to transfer him from Louisiana to a detention facility in this district and a motion for release on bail. Cindy.
Alice, thank you. And stay with CBS News New York for any new developments in this case. Look for our previous reports on our website, cbsnewyork.com.
President Trump, he says that he made progress in the efforts to end the war in Ukraine in a long phone call yesterday with Vladimir Putin. The Russian leader did not agree to Trump's 30-day ceasefire proposal supported by Ukraine. Instead, Putin made his own proposal as both.
I work at a Big Ten uni. We've been having our foreign students having their phones at uni own PC confiscated. Trump also pulls them 100 million following. Wait, what? Isn't your America's one singular thing is free speech? Okay, I need you to understand something. Historically speaking, free speech has never really been afforded to radical leftist, socialist, communist movements in this country. If you want to fight for civil liberties for black people, no free speech for you. We'll assassinate you. If you do anti-war protests, no free speech for you. We'll do Kent State. So there are plenty of examples like the Red Scare, McCarthyist trials, all that stuff, where people have been falsely imprisoned for speech. People have been blackballed and blacklisted by the federal government for free speech. Having said that, however, this is a continuation of that proud American tradition and a continuation of that tradition in a way that is truly devastating. Because if you look at, the past 20 years, if you look at 2001 in the aftermath of 9/11, obviously, the American government, actively undermined free speech, free expression, free demonstration, all that stuff against Muslims in general as it was doing the war on terror. But this now, like the stage that we have arrived at now is basically punishing people for thought crimes, like the way that you understand silly-ass dictatorships to operate, both in movies and also in the real world. This is likely at we are officially now in the pocket of straightforward, like, that's when you start claiming that like people that are peacefully protesting are terrorists and offering material support for terrorists. When you start claiming that people who have said, I don't like the way Donald Trump is cutting funding for research, that is an act of terror that bars you entry into the United States of America. When all of that, when stuff like that is being considered terrorism, which is used as a catch-all term to violate people's due process, to violate people's free speech, at that stage, you're officially done. And I said this a couple months back. If you remember, I was talking about how as American power, I tweeted about it as well, if someone can find it. As American power on the global stage wanes, you will see how little they care about free speech. This is partially the reason why it's happening, because American power is falling apart. America can only present itself as having free speech because it's been the hegemonic superpower, right? And the less stable the United States of America gets, the worse, the more aggressive the American government will get in terms of stamping out any sort of protest, any sort of dissent. And this will eventually move in the direction that you saw with Recep Tayyip Erdogan as well. Does anyone have that tweet of me calling this out a while back in terms of like suppressing speech? Maybe someone have found it. Weak dick, no motion. Oh, here, yeah, this is it. As U.S. hegemony ends, you will see limitations of free speech in more egregious ways. You only get to have limited permissible critique when you're the only dominant power in the world. There was always a limit to free speech, Red Scare, civil rights, BDS. Now that limit's over. There it is. Thank you for finding it. I'm going to retweet this. I'm going to like my own tweet and retweet it. So you're saying there's little hope? No, mass mobilization will occur, I think. That's what I'm relying on. That's what I'm hoping for. So far, though, the liberal opposition has not done anything to mobilize. Self-like and self-tweet like biblical pride. Listen, man, if I cooked so hard back then, I'm gonna like my own tweet. I'm like, damn, I cook right there. All right. All right. So, getting back to the situation here. Oh, in terms of free speech restrictions, of course, Ben & Jerry's says his CEO was fired for the company's political posts. Its parent company, Unilever, of breaching its merger agreement by ousting the ice cream company's CEO over the brand's repeated public comments on progressive issues, removing its chief executive without the board's approval. It's the latest escalation of an increasingly ugly dispute between the brand and its conglomerate owner that began in 2021. In an amendment complaint filed Tuesday in New York, lawyers for the ice cream brand said that rules stemming from the 2000 merger protects Ben & Jerry's interest by precluding the unilateral removal of his CEO, but Unilever did just that, removing and replacing CEO David Stever by not following the proper protocols, and said it was because of the brand's continued comments on progressive issues. Ben & Jerry's is also pro-Palestine, for those of you who don't know, and lo and behold, they're owned by two Jewish men, Jewish anti-Zionists. The lawsuit said that Unilever's motive for the removal of Stever was due to his commitment to Ben & Jerry's social mission and essential brand integrity, rather than any genuine concerns regarding his performance history. Unilever didn't immediately respond to CNN's request for comment. The UK company announced in March 2024 it was looking to sell Ben & Jerry's and its other ice cream brands. It has not yet completed a deal. Tuesday's complaint is the latest in a string of them against Unilever for attempting to silence the ice cream brand on social media. In January, the company alleged that Unilever unilaterally barred from a post referencing abortion, climate change, and universal health care because it mentioned President Donald Trump. Founded by, not owned by anymore. Yeah, founded by. Yeah. And they've maintained the brand's mission of advocating for social justice throughout the years. All right. Great stuff overall. Also, there is more attacks against free speech and also control over Columbia University. Columbia University is getting close to yielding to President Trump's demands in negotiations to restore $400 million in federal funding. Columbia has until Thursday to agree to 9 far-reaching demands by the Trump administration. The demands include banning masks, empowering campus cops, and putting the school's Department of Middle East, South Asia, African Studies under academic receivership, which means it would no longer be controlled by the faculty. I talked about this yesterday. Megaphonics, I don't know where Libophonics is, but he had a really banger quote on this from Nazi Germany, which did the exact same shit. And the German dean at the time basically said, do we still get funding or what? After demanding that all the Jews in faculty get deported, or not deported, but like fired. Megaphonics, where's that link you sent me? The one time I'm looking for Libophonics, and he wakes up, but he's not ready to go. He's not ready to rip that. Anyway, more like Magaphonics. Here, I'll pull his. It's going to be impossible to find the actual quote because he posts non-stop. Look at this. This is only from like a couple days ago. How am I going to find it? Yep, this is it. Yeah. Peter Drucker, an Austrian economist, was then a lecturer at Frankfurt University, fearful of Hitler's plans for Germany. He was prepared to leave the country, but hoped that it would not be necessary to do so. The first Nazi-led faculty meeting at the university convinced him otherwise. Frankfurt was the first university the Nazis tackled, precisely because of the most self-confidently liberal of major German universities, with a faculty that prided itself in its allegiance to scholarship, freedom of conscience, and democracy. The Nazis knew that the control of Frankfurt University would mean control of German academia. And so did everyone at the university. Above all, Frankfurt had a science faculty distinguished by both his scholarship and his liberal convictions, and outstanding among the Frankfurt scientists with a biochemist, physiologist of Nobel Prize caliber and impeccable liberal credentials. When the appointment of a Nazi commissar was announced, and every teacher and graduate assistant at the university was summoned to a faculty meeting to hear this new master, everybody knew of a trial of strength was at hand. I'd never before attended a faculty meeting, but I did attend this one. The new Nazi commissar wasted no time on the amenities. He immediately announced that Jews would be forbidden to enter the university premises and would be dismissed without salary on March 15th. This was something that no one had thought possible despite the Nazis' loud anti-Semitism. Then he launched a tirade of abuse, filth, and four-letter words, such as had been heard rarely even in the barracks and never before in academia. He pointed his fingers at one department chairman after another and said, "You either do what I tell you or we'll put you in a concentration camp." There was silence when he finished. Everybody waited for the distinguished biochemist physiologist. The great liberal got up, cleared his throat, and said, "Very interesting, Mr. Commissar, and in some respects very illuminating. But one point I didn't get too clearly. Will there be more money for research in physiology?" 1-to-1. 1-to-1. The exception is it's not, Jews across the board. That's it. 1-to-1. For the record, this matches up with what my grandmother said happened in her life story as she left Nazi Germany with her partially Jewish family back then. She passed away about 10 years ago. Well, rest in peace to your grandma. At least she didn't get to see it twice in her lifetime. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't get to experience it. She did not get to experience it the second time around happening in the country that she escaped to. You say Jesus, but like, that's literally, you're living in it. What do you mean, Jesus? You're living in it right now. It's happening to you, dumbass, and to me, to all of us. Yeah, she didn't live long enough to watch her own son, my dad, become a Trump supporter, by the way. Yeah, there's, well, silver linings all around. That's dark as hell. Wake up. We are living in dark times, okay? This is when I say I fear that America's darkest chapter is yet ahead. I mean it. Like, people will turn around and say, like, "Oh, what do you mean? We had slavery. We had chattel slavery." That's pretty brutal. I agree. It is, right? We had, this nation was built on indigenous, like, what are you talking about? I agree. I know all of that. And yet I'm still saying that we are moving towards the darkest period of the darkest chapter of American history. Okay? Because all of those things that happened, we will do again, but this time serialized, this time modernized, this time industrialized. The current administration has even more tools at its disposal to do a metric ton of evil. The parallels are there. It is very clear for those with eyes to see. All right. I don't know what else to tell you. We are moving in at an alarming rate towards just straightforward, open fashion. We're there. Like, this is the entry phase. Okay. We've dipped our toes into it. We've dipped our legs into it. Okay. We're almost at crotch level. Once the permission boundary is breached through the court system, as the Trump administration is actively undermining the court system when it's doing deportations to El Salvador, we will officially move on to the next stage. You have to fund ICE. You have to fund the military. You have to potentially create just cause to be able to utilize the military, right? Do the mass deportation protocols. Because right now, the only thing stopping the administration is the ticker tape of legality and the courts that will try to do temporary, they're try to do injunctions and temporary restraining orders on the actions that they're taking. And then beyond that, it's just logistics, right? It's just logistics. Once they figure out the logistics of it, and they've also completely eviscerated the legal structure that could potentially stop it and make it legal to do this kind of thing, which is what they're actively trying to do, this will kick into high gear. Just wondering, what kind of 5-year-old were you to your parents? What? I don't know. I was 5. That's a very strange question. Society is a thin veneer that benefits those who do not play by the rules. Once it is broken, it cannot be replaced without force, no matter the morality. Anyway, we're here. News on the Mahmoud Khalil case. The judge rebuked the Trump admin. This case, the Mahmoud Khalil case, I think, is perhaps the most significant legal case of our time. What happens here will either completely erode the last legal bastion of defense that the institutions have in undermining the Trump agenda. If this court case sides and the Supreme Court sides eventually with the administration, it's over. They now have destroyed one plank. It's already basically like the little crispy Cheeto holding the door together. Okay, once they boulder through it, it's over. It's done. The legal side is cooked. It's over. The only way that the court system will work is at the behest of the administration. Everything that they do will be considered legal, of course. Obviously, they will enforce it through the pre-existing legal structure that will use the institutions to their advantage as long as, you know, the institutions remain. And then the only thing stopping them will be logistics. It is incredibly difficult of an undertaking for this administration to go out and do mass door-knocking operations and fucking arrest everybody. Okay? Very, very, very difficult. My friends, oh yeah, this is basically, yes, the courts against the Trump admin. That's what this is. Now let's get back to foreign policy. Dude, I doubt this affects any citizens. No way Republicans go after free speech of citizens. We would revolt in the U.S. Come on, dude. Bro, this is so funny. Dude, I doubt this affects non-Jews. No way the Hitler, the Nazi party would go after non-Jews, dude. Are you stupid? All they care about is Jews. We'll revolt. It's a good joke. No, dude, they're just going after trade unionists. They're just going after communists. They're just going after socialists. They're just going after Jews in academia. You know, they're not going to come after me. What? Just stop. They would never do that. Come on. Come on. It's so funny for people to think that I'm being hyperbolic when I'm directly telling you what is going on, explaining to you where it will go. And the government is like clearly following through on these promises. It's not like they sheltered you from their perspective. They did. They openly stated it. They openly stated their desires, their violent desires, and now they're following through on it. So I don't know why people are like, what? Huh, no, that's crazy.